What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Virzi Effect podcast show. My name is Paul Virzi. I am sitting here in Burbank, California. I've been out in LA for a few days here doing some stuff, doing a little acting, doing a little LA things that you'd have to come here to do. Well, sometimes, but a lot of the times. And now look, well, first of all, let me just say that sitting in with me right now is somebody that is always there with me, but 3,000 miles away. My producer, my rock, Andrew Themeles, the Greek freak.
Thanks, Paul.
Yes, podcast producer extraordinaire, AKA the Beverly Hills Kid. I mean, the kid's got nicknames for days. But he's sitting here next to me, which is so nice because usually it's phone calls and it's texts and it's, hey, is this link working? And what the fuck is going on with this? Hey, I lost you. I'll get you right back. Hey, let me turn my computer off. Maybe that was the problem. And now he's sitting here next to me in an Anything Better t-shirt of all things. By the way, get that merch. And we're going to have some Virzi Effect logo merch coming real soon, which I'm excited about. You guys see that nice... See that nice clean logo? We're going to get that on sweatshirts and t-shirts and all that shit too. But I want to talk about being in Los Angeles. Okay? And I'm going to be honest. A lot of people on the East Coast go like this. This is the big thing in LA. Man, fuck LA. Okay? We had a little studio malfunction. We're back. But what I was going to say is a lot of people on the East Coast comedians. Now, some like it. But you always hear this thing. You always hear this thing about Los Angeles where it's like, man, fuck that. I'm not an LA guy. I'm a New York guy. And listen, I'm a New York guy. I'm not an LA guy. But I do love coming out here. The weather, you just cannot fuck with the weather. It's incredible. Yes, there's traffic, but there's traffic everywhere. I love how people are like, there's traffic everywhere, okay? I've been going on my way home to, upstate New York on the FDR at night at 2 o'clock in the morning, and guess what? There's construction and there's traffic. You could get caught in it for hours, too. My thing about out here is, and this is my biggest problem with Los Angeles is... Love it. Yeah, and it's true. You have one or two ways to go, okay? You either stay with a friend. See, I'm not good with couch surfing. I'm not good with that homeless shit. Does that make sense?
You say that, but I've been asking you where you're staying each night, and you're like, I haven't figured that out yet. So
no,
I feel like with that attitude, you'd be like, I'm locked down here.
Right. No, that's right. But see, so when I was doing the acting project that I was working on, I knew my first 3 nights I'm in a hotel and I don't need a car, and that was nice because it's like work back to my hotel. Yeah. Okay. But when you're in LA doing other things, it's like I need a rental. Whose house should I stay at? Should I get a hotel? If I do get another hotel, where should that hotel be? Right. So these are my problems with LA.
Because where are you going to have to be?
My problem with LA is more of like geographically, there's so many different, hey, this podcast studio is in Burbank. Hey, this one is in Calabasas. So I was like, yesterday, I was on Fighter and the Kid, Calabasas. Then I had to get in a car from Calabasas to get here to do Tom Papa, and that was 15 minutes late, right? Just because I'm in Calabasas. So then I'm like, then I have a friend like Andrew in Beverly Hills, okay? Then I have a buddy. Then I have a buddy. Then I'll have a buddy in Los Feliz or the Silver Lake area. Then I have a buddy in Pasadena. Where do I stay? Where do I keep my bags? Do I Uber everywhere? Do I get a car and get a hotel? I don't know what to do in this town. So I get on the phone with my wife and I go, I just need stability in my life. I want to come home and be with my kids. That's how I feel sometimes when I come out here, if that makes any sense.
Well, that's like traveling in general. But then there's like that hump. Like, I was just talking to somebody and I was like, yeah, I had the same experience. They were like, yeah, I don't remember where they said they were visiting. And they were like, yeah, I was there for 3 or 4 weeks. And they're like, the first 2 days I was just like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't want to be here. And then by the 3rd week, you're like, oh, like, I'm going to need to plan my next trip. Yeah. Like, before I even leave this one.
Well, here's the thing. If you go to New York, you know what you're doing. You're going to pick a part of town, and you're going to stay in that hotel.
But I'll tell you, no, see, it's the same. It's all about, if I go to New York and I start asking people, like, where should I go? Right? Like, for this or for that. Like, it's that same, like, when you ask somebody from LA, it's like, or currently residing in LA, not from LA. Yeah. Everybody's from somewhere else. But, like, like their answer is either going to be really, really useful or it's just gonna like confuse you and set you off, right? Like I asked somebody in New York, I'm like, listen, I just need like a good place to eat like in this area. Just send me. And it was just like, well, you know, you could take a cab here instead. It's just like, all right, like you weren't the guy for this. Like for LA, 3 or 4 more trips, and you know what's gonna happen? You're gonna know. You're going to be like, you know what?
That's what
I want to hang out with someone. I want to hang out with, we'll call him Mr. X. Mr. X lives in Santa Monica. I'm gonna stay out there. And then the day that I need to go to Burbank, I'm just going to stay the whole day. I'll go North Hollywood, then I'll go Burbank. And then the rest of the time, Paul, you're at the beach eating fish tacos.
Well, listen, I think you're right. I think what happens is I need to be out here a few more times.
For sure.
And I need to, but what I like to do, my best LA experience is from the airport, rent a nice car. Yeah. And it's got to be nice.
It's got to be
none
nice.
of this fucking, like all these people going, no, get the economy. You're not going to, it's not true. You're in.
Well, how much? It's like $6. Well, that's not true.
No,
it used to be like the upgrade used to be very little, and you could get a lot. I remember one time I was in Florida. He goes, "You want a Mustang convertible?" I go, "What's that gonna run me?" And it was just like for like 4 days or whatever. It was like an extra like $32. I'm like, yeah, I'll take the convertible Mustang. Like, I'm never going to drive them, you know.
Yeah, like, when I come out here and if the guys, I'm like, look, man, I'm running around all over. I need something comfortable. Then sometimes they upgrade you. But I definitely get at least the middle to the top rental.
Yep.
And middle could be just a 4-door bigger sedan.
Sure.
I get that. And then I drive around to everything I need to do. And then I know where I'm sleeping that night. That's kind of the way. This time is the first time I'm doing straight Uber. I did have, Barton that came out here to meet somebody.
Though. That's nice. It's freeing.
No, the Uber thing is freeing because I'm just like, okay, you know what? I can go get a coffee and then I'm going to get a ride.
And I can just leave, and I can leave my car. I don't have to leave a car somewhere. I don't have to park.
Right. The only thing that sucks is when you have your carry-on and you have all that stuff.
Yeah.
The nice thing about Ubering everywhere and not having a rental is I can just go to the airport and leave. I could go, you know what?
Beautiful.
Today's the day I'm flying home. Or you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to fly home.
Yeah.
Or it drives my wife nuts. This is exactly what my wife, Stacy, hates. Because my wife, Stacy, is a planner. She wants to know when we're leaving, where we're leaving from, where we're getting a car, where we're staying, and what the days are going to be. That's not the life of a comic coming to Los Angeles, California.
And here's what's interesting about that. And this is where I'm similar. Because,
by the way, delicious, and I'm not even. Actually, I think somebody said they were going to send it to me, but this is Liquid Death. I should be getting paid for this, but sparkling lime, and it's incredible.
Well, they'll send more to the studio.
Well, Liquid Death. Why don't you fucking jump on the TVE podcast? By the way, this is episode
532.
532, and we want to thank everybody who is helping our podcast grow. The podcast has been growing. I know people like, so when are you going to come in studio? So that's what we're doing now. Okay, I understand Zoom is, but these are my people. ATC is my company that I work with, my production company that I work with, and they're here, and they don't have an office in New York. So when we come out here, I love to do it here. But I do appreciate the new subscribers. I do appreciate the downloads and everybody that's gone to my YouTube channel. Andrew has been such an instrumental part of growing the Virzi Effect, and please get the Virzi Effect everywhere you get it. iTunes, Spotify. Like I said, we are going to have merchandise coming out. We're going to have some hoodies. We're going to have some T-shirts along with the Anything Better podcast I do with Bill Burr. All that merchandise is available now. Please go to that YouTube channel and subscribe. And we really appreciate it. So it's so weird to like be in studio, like not doing this from my garage studio, which I love.
Yeah, where you're comfortable.
I love being in my but it's kind of cool to be out here.
No, of course.
And just be like, all right, you know what? Like this is where all these, and you walk in and you see like such a nice job that the company did. Aaron's crushing it for everybody.
Aaron's always crushing it. I have to go back to what you were saying. Because you opened that whole thing.
Oh, I thought you were just going to go like, I got to get at it. I got to go back to my house.
But that was a nice, those plugs were like, that was a nice early, not even mid. That was like an early plug. That was nice section.
Well, you know what? We're sitting here.
It felt like the end. I felt like I should be taking my headphones on. That was good. I was like, no, we're just getting going.
No, we're thanking people,
No, I know. It was perfect. You opened the whole thing up with saying like, I like to plan. I like to know where I want to stay. In the way that you mean it, right? And then you said your wife is very planny, and she lets the plan shit, and you're like, I just want to take my time. So here's where I relate to you.
Yeah.
I need just a foundation so that I don't have to worry. I need just enough of a foundation so that I don't have to worry. So I don't mind if shit goes awry. Like, I don't care if, like, the trip goes here, goes there.
I think it's awry. Is it a rye?
A rye, you're right. It is a rye.
Yeah.
It is a rye.
I don't like to, and listen, I don't mean to be that asshole.
No.
I don't like to be that asshole who corrects it, but
Hold on,
when
you have
said,
to correct it. No, civilization falls when people start using words the wrong way. So, like, that's why you got to correct everybody.
I mean, I don't think civilization would fall in this case, but I know what you mean.
You know, I wish I had like a reference of like one girl. Oh, yeah, well, read about the Ottoman Empire, Paul, because, you know, they started calling apples oranges, oranges apples. No, but you like a foundation. And then the rest is fine. So it's like if you got a hotel and a car, you don't give a shit what's going on. Your wife, you're saying, might want to know, like, but Monday, what are we doing? You're like, I don't care what we're doing Monday. All I know is I got a car and a place to sleep.
And I got to figure out
you got enough of a foundation, right? So it's like...
Right. She needs the whole thing laid out. I need, like... today and maybe tomorrow figured out. If I have like today and tomorrow figured out, I'm good.
Small ball.
You know, let's lay down a bunt and get a run. Or she just wants to clear the bases with a grand slam. I'm a very like, all right, I know when I'm going to the airport and I kind of know where I'm sleeping tonight. Like, I know what I'm doing tonight. I'm doing podcasts, and I'm going to run around and do a couple things. And I booked this very...
This is all us.
Everybody, it was bugging me because as a comic, you want to do shows. And people are like, oh, are you doing shows while you're out here? And I'm like, they're all booked. And I don't want to be the guy showing up going, hey, I'm in town. It's like, no, Paul, we would love to have you on, but let us kind of know.
It's a secondary feature of the trip.
It's a secondary feature of the trip, but I'm still out here. And so we'll see what happens. Got to smoke some cigars. Got to have some nice food. Club Soda Kenny is out here.
Now let's talk about what's better about New York, the food. Go ahead, start.
I'm going to be honest with you. I got hit up today, and they said, let's go to this Italian place in, I think it was like the Los Feliz area, and it was in this little strip mall, and it was a divey little deli, and on the side it was a restaurant with tables, and it was absolutely incredible. It felt like I was on the East Coast. It felt like I was in New York.
Yeah.
The burrata salad with the shredded red roasted peppers. We got a cold antipasta that came out with everything. Everything was on point. There was no, but this is California tasting. No, this was New York tasting. The olives and everything that just came out was incredible. Yeah. Then they came out with this appetizer that had 10 little meatballs with marinara on top and everything. I'm like, all right, how are these things going to be? They're real small. I don't know. Yeah. Absolutely delicious. Soft, fresh, delicious. So it's like, I think that the thing is, I think that a lot of people, and I could be wrong.
There's great food out here, by the way. I was just sitting.
No. You're right.
But there is.
Listen, the pizza. Look, pizza is just not going to be, because pizza. The thing about pizza is it's just not going to be what it is in New York because of certain things as far as like water and ovens.
Yeah. There's no competition. There's no competition.
I'm sure you could get. I'm sure there's one or two places out here that are good.
There's some absolutely some great.
If you're listening to the Virzi Effect right now, I'm going to be coming out to LA a lot more. Let me know where I can go get a nice slice. I'm sure that there are Italians out here going, fuck that. It'll beat. I know, like, my friend opened a joint.
We just don't even bother. You don't even bother with the pizza. I mean, you got to be out here. You get, Paul, in your 8th trip, maybe we'll go get some pizza. But up until that point, it's, it's Mexican.
I have a theory. My theory is a lot of people on the East Coast don't like it out here because I'm
originally from Boston, outside of Boston, Massachusetts. I want to make that clear. I'm an East Coast person. Like,
he's an East Coast
New
person.
England is.
He's a New England, Boston kid.
But I love it in LA because you get to the Pacific Ocean and you look at that highway and you go to Malibu and you're like, how do you leave?
You're a weird one because you're like a East Coast dude with like a hippie vibe. Does that make sense?
I mean, well, yeah. I mean,
like you're like Andrew's like an East Coast dude, but like he'll just sit on a fucking boogie board and stare at the ocean.
No boogie board, but yes, I will just go sit. And then just be at the ocean.
He said no boogie board. All right, sorry, scratch the boogie board, but he'll just sit at the ocean.
Listen, I don't want credits. I don't want extra credits.
But I think East Coast guys don't like it out here because there's a sense of
they don't know what to do.
No, but even in show business and comics, I just think there's a sense of insecurity out here because you're in New York, they're stable, right? When you're in New York, you know your spots, you have your thing. When you come out here and you're in show business and you see like there's like it's very like, oh, this person's here, that person's here. You get trumped.
When you see like the lighting guy talking to like, superstar so and so on the set. And you're like, yeah, like everybody's just kind of working here. It's way more of a working class.
Yeah, no, a lot of it. That's what I think. A lot of it is in your head because that's a lot of big time people. Yeah, and like in New York, we're so focused on stand up, right? And we're so focused on the art of stand up. And then you come out here and you kind of feel that like who you are is a thing. And I think that puts people. But I'm actually defending LA in the sense that like if you just because one thing I noticed out here, and I'm not saying this to like pat myself on the back. I'm just saying that this was something that happened. Every time I did perform out here, whether it was at the Comedy Store right before pandemic, whether it was the Laugh Factory or the Hollywood Improv, I got treated different after people saw that I was funny. But I don't live here, so that should be the case. And at first you get mad, not mad, but at first you're like, what the fuck? Like people are like,
they just, because that's the thing, it's just like New York. Think about that though. Somebody comes in, you're like, who's this fucking guy? Everything is who's this fucking guy? We all do that.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like when you come from LA to New York and you go to a big club, you're probably like, oh, okay, hey, I was told I could get on, and you're not part of that, right? So so it's like if I walk to the Comedy Store or one of these places and I'm not booked, I shouldn't get treatment. The same way if you come to the stand of the cellar, and somebody come, and you're like, hey, I know that's a funny comment, I know who that is, but like we have a show tonight.
Yes.
And I think people get worried about that, and I don't care anymore. I'm just like, look, I'm gonna do what I do out here. Like all stand up is clearly a secondary thing on this one. I didn't come out here to do stand up. I came out here to act. But you made a good point. I was doing an acting thing and I'm on set and there's some people that are fucking pretty big and you just see everybody just treats everybody. It's about the work and it's about getting it done right. And it's like, and you meet somebody and you're like, oh man, this guy's been a part of
it's
all these things.
I remember when I first moved out here, when I said I was going to move out here and stuff, you know, the general reaction from everybody is, hey, it's tough out there. You know, and it's just like, first off, like most people, they haven't even been west of Ohio, and they're telling you it's tough in LA. You know, they don't know anything. They've never been. They don't know anything about the industry. It's just like, yeah, like it's a hard industry to break into. But you know, if I said I was moving to New York to join like some finance firm, and I was gonna grind it out 14 hours a day to like maybe one day manage a bunch of money, you know what I mean? Like, people would be like, oh, good for him, he got a job at Fidelity. It's just like, well. Yeah. When you're out here and people, and that's why when you see like actors and people who are in showbiz who grew up in LA, the leg up is absolutely huge because they're like, oh, like that's the Comedy Store where you start to do comedy.
Well, yes.
I know writers. I know this. I know how it works. I wrote a screenplay in 5th grade because that's what we do here.
But it's all, and I really believe this. I can't stress this enough. And what I'm about to say is not just for whether you're in California, New York, or anywhere you travel, but what I'm about to say is life. When things are supposed to, when people say things are uncomfortable or hard, it's all what's between your ears. Okay, it's your attitude, it's your confidence, and it's how you feel within yourself. And so, if you're a satisfied, happy individual and you're comfortable and confident in yourself, you could go to the fucking moon. You can go 100%. You could go to Mars, and they're gonna be like, dude, there's gonna be astronauts, and there's gonna be aliens, and it's gonna be fucked up. But if you're like, nah, you know what? I know who I am, and I'm just gonna be me. So. Listen, you go to a new place. See, I was a kid that moved a lot. Unfortunately, my parents it was a brutal divorce when I was younger, and my mom, me and my brother were with my mom, and there was not much money, so we moved a lot. And I had to adjust and adapt, and it made me insecure and scared. But now later in life, it's starting to let me know, look, you'll always still have anytime somebody goes into a new environment, it's scary. I don't give a fuck how confident you are.
Yeah, totally.
But then there does come a point in life where you're just like, you know, like I remember Ron Artest was saying, Meta World Peace, and he goes like, this guy was like on basketball courts and just like watching somebody get shot in the head. Like guy was like watching, like I think watching a friend just get stabbed to death. And dude, when you're a young individual, when you're a young person and you see somebody get stabbed to death or shot in the head and you go home and you go to sleep, that's in your database, dude.
Oh, all day.
That's like we were talking yesterday on Fighter and the Kid. They showed the clip of the guy pulling out the gun at the comedy show where Mike Tyson was sitting. And Mike Tyson didn't flinch. Guy pulled out a gun. He was trying to, and all these people went like this. And Mike Tyson just sat there and then called the guy over. It's like, that guy's from Brownsville, Brooklyn. That guy has seen death. And I'm not saying you need to see those things to be comfortable, but like I used the Ron Artest thing because the guy was playing basketball. Right. The guy was playing basketball with his boys on a court, like having fun, doing what he's great at, doing what he loves, and then seeing death in that moment. So a guy like him, there's a clip of him talking to Kobe. And the clip is, it's a thing where Kobe's at the foul line, rest his soul. Kobe's at the foul line, and Ron Artest is a Rocket at the time. He's on the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
And he goes, you don't want none of me. And Kobe goes, what? Kobe literally leaned over and goes, what? And he goes, you don't want none. And he goes, and Kobe goes, what are you, a stand-up comedian now? And they have this little thing. And listen, Kobe's going to get the best of Ron Artest.
Sure.
But what he was saying was that, like, I'm not afraid that you're Kobe, and like I'm gonna do like what I do. It was his mentality, whether it's delusional or not,
sure.
or whether it's just the confidence in somebody. And I think that you need that. You know, I don't want to mention the name. I'm not allowed to mention the name. But I worked with somebody, and I worked with an actor, and I'll tell you off camera. But I just want to say it's an actor that people know, and I got to work with this guy, and I just watched. I did something that, you know, I was able to work on King of Staten Island. The part got cut because they changed the arc of the movie. And it sucks because I played Pete's dad that died in a fire. It was a part that, like, people say, oh, you did good on it. Unfortunately, you know, and Judd was kind enough to say, hey man, like, this is why, which he didn't owe me. But it was nice to be on a set like that and work with someone like that. Sure. So now I, you know, acting is coming slowly. So what I do now is, since I am not an actor, I'm a stand-up first, and stand-up is my love. Yeah. But I want to act, and I want. So what I did is I watched scenes that I watched things, and you watch things, and there are certain. You watch how a big thing to do in life is to watch how somebody behaves when they're not on, right? Whether it's a comic not on stage, whether it's an actor not on set,
all day. Right? That's an underrated thing. We'll go back to that. But that's underrated.
Like whether it's a musician that is not in concert right now, like they're home, like how people are in the green room, how people are in the trailers, how people treat staff. When you watch how somebody behaves and then you see where they are, it all makes sense. And when you see it done the wrong way and you see where that person is, that makes sense too.
Totally. Absolutely. What you said about that goes to, it lends itself to the fact that, like, it's like that Jordan quote, like, you didn't see me putting in all those hours. That Nike commercial. It was like that famous, And it's just like the amount of people that, and you just talk to, whether they're like friends of people in the industry or friends from home or people you just run into and they ask questions. Like, everybody thinks there's some, I don't know. They think that there's like some type of like luck or sometimes like you get to this hump and then everything's like, oh, all right. Like, people think like, if I could just get that one gig or get to that one threshold, then everything's just going to be easy. Like, I get to the top of the mountain and now I can just chill. And people who aren't in the industry think that like comes like even quicker, right? And it's just like, no, like, people work. I remember a comic said to Bill once, they go, wow, like, after he crushed.
Who, Burr?
Burr. Crushed at the Comedy Store. Absolutely crushed. Tuesday night, like, you know, the whole thing. What you'd expect. And another comic, very talented comic, said to him, he goes, man, younger comic said, man, he goes, that's amazing. He goes, just to come in and just like that easy, just come in and just tear up the room. And Bill just goes, you think that's easy? He's like, it's still not easy. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's like, I'm working that out. You know what I mean? That so for Bill, that was work, right? Yeah. So everything, like, people underestimate the amount of work that goes into absolutely everything. And
it goes back to my favorite quote. I've said it a million times, you know, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. Yeah. You know, work needs to be done. You need to go into a fight knowing. You need to go into a gunfight with the right amount of ammunition and know what you're doing. And that's everything. And that,
we're all guilty of it. Because sometimes you see somebody and you go, like, you only see when they're performing, like you said before, you only see when they're performing. And then if you're fucking around, you go, well, they must be fucking around because they're not always performing. So it's like, well, no, they're doing X, Y, Z, whether they're a musician or an actor or whatever it is, a writer or a doctor, it doesn't matter. Like, there's extra shit. There's extra reading. You don't get to be the best surgeon by not reading all that, like, shit that your peers send you at the end of the week. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, you got to, like, it's a competition. No, it all goes down to what you feel about yourself and your self-worth. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Self-worth. Oh, yeah. You know how many talented people I've seen go, like, man, you know, nothing's going to happen from this. And, like, you know, like, crazy. Basically they're just going like, I'm a piece of shit, man. Nobody cares. And I go, no, dude, like, no. You know, I've had really talented people and amazing talented friends go like, nobody cares about that. Like, nobody's going to, you know, like, you talk to somebody, you're like, hey, man, I heard you worked on that project. Or I heard you did. Yeah, I mean, no one's going to see it. Like, nobody cares. Like, it didn't pay. And it's like, dude, you know what it is? You're projecting how you feel about you and you're insecure, you know? And it comes out of the skin. And now, people notice. People smell it. People
definitely smell like,
think about
like
it.
a dog.
Like, would you? Because a lot of the people that might think that way, like that example that you just gave.
Yeah.
Think about if somebody came up to that person and was all like, the same way they are, they'd go, well, I can't work with this guy. This guy's just going to bring me down. It's just like, yeah, well, you were that guy.
Yeah.
To the other guy.
Well, I've been.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, 100%.
You know, everybody's been negative. I'm not saying like
no.
Everybody,
Listen,
you know,
but I talked about this on another episode where I've gotten shit on because I am, you know, people.
You talked about this on anything better, yeah.
People have made. You know, people have made fun of me. People have said, "Oh, you know, Virzi's just positive," or Virzi's deluded. Virzi thinks that that's going to happen, or oh yeah, well Virzi did that, so like now this going to happen. But then I see where those people are, and it's like, oh yeah, dude, and like this is happening now, and this is happening. Everything, and let's do this for anybody watching this. And it sounds so fucking corny, cliche, and like motivational speaking, but it's the truth. Any fucking thing that you dream that you can do. With the exception of flying, with the exception you know, with the exception of becoming invisible, all the fucking, you know, fantasy shit. I'm talking. You ever see that Key and Peele? You literally could fly. Like they were making fun of Kevin Garnett when he said anything's possible, and he goes, "No, kids, jump off a building." And the reporters go, "No, I mean, I don't think you want to." He goes, "No, literally, you can fly." No, but like anything that you want to do in life, man. Like if it's be an actor, if it's be like. You can get to a place where you can't believe you've gotten because of work ethic, experience. Obviously, listen, you got to be talented.
No, you're right.
Let's be honest. Like, you got to be talented. Like you can't. If you're sitting home playing video games and you don't have an ounce of talent, like I can't.
Right, but there are people who reach the same level. Some through sheer. Just like God's gift, and other people through hard work. And I've seen that like in like certain things. There's like I know a musician who works. And then I know another guy who's just like, he's just got it. And the guy who works, if you're listening to play, it's like, you probably wouldn't know. I mean, you know, but yeah.
Well, I think that what happens too is that the initial fear is so great. The initial fear of the first time I got on stage. Imagine I didn't. A buddy of mine was walking past a bar in Woodstock, New York, the Woodstock, New York, and there was a place called Joyous Lake. Joyous Lake was a place that the Rolling Stones and all these places practiced in before they went to, it was a bar in Woodstock, and the fucking Rolling Stones and all these monster bands that played Woodstock or whatever, or would go in and work out and play, right? And my buddy was working construction. This is like 1999, a little before 2000, a little before 2000 came. And he goes, "Hey man, there's an open mic at this bar on a Tuesday. Should I sign you up?" And I was fucking scared. And I go, "Yeah." And I went, and I didn't have anything written. It was terrible. But then I signed myself up the next week, and I had something prepared. A lot of people are afraid. Where the problem comes is that first night. People are just like, you know what, man, I'll get to it.
Yeah, it's the comfort zone stuff you were just talking about at the beginning of this.
I had a friend. I worked at as a busboy at Applebee's, and the bartender was this cool, smart dude. And he goes, "Man, I'm gonna go. I gotta get." He was like good with computers. I'm gonna go to New York City. I'm gonna go to this computer class. I'm gonna get these computer classes. I'm gonna learn. And then I saw him 3 years later. "No, man, I still got to do that, man. I got to go." Then I saw the guy, and the dude was just bartending at Applebee's for fucking ever.
Yeah.
And he was just there. He was comfortable putting on his fucking Applebee's shirt and his Applebee's tag and serving people things. And guess what? Smoking weed at night, ordering pizzas, doing that. And before you know it, a fucking decade's gone by. That guy's never gone to New York City to go to that computer class or wherever it was at the time and do that. And it's like, don't be that, like, that's the shit that, like, it's always scary. It's always going to be scary.
Yeah.
But the reward from that is the shit.
And people will just say like, "Oh, like I could never do that." The people we all do it, but every time it happens, I catch myself because I'm like, I really hate it when it happens. You ever say something out loud and you've just said it so many times that you like you believed it once and you still kind of say it, and then you're like, wait a minute. Like wait a minute, do I really not like this? Like I've just for 10 years I've kind of just casual stuff. I'm not talking like anything big, if you say something in your head, it's just so easy just to like talk yourself out of it. When I moved out here, I remember talking to some kids. "Oh, you're moving, huh?" He goes, "Oh, I could never do that." I was just like, "Oh, I was like girlfriend, wife, kids." He goes, "No, none of that." I go, "You own a house?" I go, "But," he goes, "Nah." He goes, He goes, I don't have anything going on. I'm like, so what's the difference between you and me? I'm like, what's the difference? I'm like, I'm not doing anything special. Like, if you want to move, you can move. But it's that, you know, when you said about like anybody can do anything, my buddy Sean had this line. He was so true. He was just like, you never really do believe them when they tell you when you're a kid you can do anything you want to, you can be anything you want to be when you grow up. Like they tell you that, and some people believe it, and you kind of do a little bit. You get that good feeling, like, yeah, you know, I kind of can, whatever. But like very few people really understand.
Yeah. But Pitbull said something amazing, the rapper or the artist with a music guy.
Yeah.
And he goes,
he certainly didn't sing it.
He goes, when you're a little kid, they go, and you're a baby. They go, come on, look, he's doing it. He could do it. Come on. Oh, take another step. Look at this. This is amazing. And you're encouraging the baby. Right? He said that. Yeah. He's like, oh my God, come on. And everyone gets there. And guess what? That baby takes an extra step because they see. He goes, and then when you get older, it stops. When you get older, it's almost like the opposite. When you get older, people project that they can't do things. And that's a fucking amazing thing. And I thought about that, and I'm like, yeah, when you're around and a toddler or a baby takes their first step, everybody gets called in the room. If you're good people, and people start clapping, and the baby feels it, and there's that energy. And then all of a sudden, you become a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. You could speak 5 languages, right? You fly private, and you're a piece of shit, and fuck you, and fuck him, and what is he doing with his employees? And it's like, it becomes, like, that's the one thing. I love the United States of America. It's the greatest country in the world, and I've been a lot of places, and what you have access to is amazing. However, there is a thing here when you get a certain, you know what they say? America loves an underdog until that underdog becomes this huge favorite, and it's like, well, fuck him. And then
when you talk to people from other countries, they, like, the last time I went through Europe, the only time I went through Europe, I, like, for like a month, every country was in, like, people.
That's the funny thing. Yeah, the last time.
Yeah.
You know, the 19th time, which was the last.
Yeah.
You're like the one fucking time I want to scratch off.
I was going to go again. Yeah. I was going to go again.
Yeah.
Everybody would they'd just be like, man, it's just like amazing. You can like get any job you want. I remember the driver in Liverpool on Bill Burr's tour. The driver, we were asking him, like, you know, question about Liverpool and blah, blah, blah. And he said, excuse me, this was London. And he goes, I'm from outside the city. He goes, I'm actually a lawyer. He said, but because I don't have like the right accent, he goes, I'm not posh enough. He goes, I can't get a job here. Yeah. Now, like, you dig into that a little more. There's like a lot of barriers of like class issues, right? Like in England, like that have been around forever. Yeah. It's just like that. A lot of that's stripped away here. Like if you're a lawyer, like you can practice in a city, right? It might be harder to get like firm, but this guy was driving cars. He was a lawyer who couldn't get a job at all, right?
Yeah,
that sucks.
Yeah. Well, no, I just feel like you know, that's why it's very important who you hang out with, man. Who you hang out with,
totally.
Who your circle is so important as far as like, and I'm not just talking about like if your friend is, I don't care if your friend is poor. Yeah. If they're morally good, and if they're supportive, and if they're like, they want to genuinely see the people that they love and the people around them move up. That's but you got to watch out though.
To be the person around somebody that if you want to like care, like if I was like your cousin, all right. Hey, we could be cousins, Paul, Greek Italian.
Right.
If I was your cousin and I was rooting for you and you were, you know, kept coming up, and you needed advice from me, the only thing that I can do, the best thing that I can do in my position is to be both realistic and optimistic. Like, sometimes you're going to need me to be realistic, right? Sometimes you're going to say some shit about Paul, I don't know that I can go with you.
No, of course.
Sometimes you need to be optimistic. And the people around that person, like you're saying, a lot of times fuck that up because they're not. Well,
what you're talking about there is there's a difference between honesty. You're talking about somebody in your circle being honest, going, "Hey, dude, I know where your head and heart's at, but like this is the reality of it."
Sure.
That's a friend.
Yeah.
What's not a friend is the person that is like, I was friends with somebody in comedy when I first started, and me and this dude would always hang.
Yeah.
And he would always be at the shows I was at.
Yep.
And then something started to happen. And what would happen, well, we were both doing the black room, the urban circuit. We were, you know, they would be like, oh, dude, this white boy's funny, put him up.
Sure.
And you would go up, and it was literally, I came up, and I've said it many times, on some 8 Mile shit, right?
Yep.
You go in, and it's like, you're either going to get booed, make this work, or whatever.
Sure.
And me and this dude would do it. And then what started to happen was, if I got a room or a show, I could tell it was like there was like this like weird bitterness.
Sure.
And then like they would want to get the room. And then one day we auditioned for something, and we were outside, and I did a good audition, and they didn't do a good audition. And it was like, let's just get out of here. And I was like, well, there's some people like I want to see, like, let's just get out of here, right? Okay, fine. And we're sitting at a bar, and I'm talking to him, and I'm going, dude, I'm telling you, man, I think like I could do this. And I was like, I think I could do this. And this is a guy that we came up like for years doing stuff.
Yeah. Comedy.
Hustling and producing our own shows, new talent nights, our own shit, and doing the urban circuit together, all this stuff. And I'm sitting there, and I'm starting to feel, and Stacey would go, you always get weird when you talk. It was a weird feeling. And I remember saying something, and maybe somebody's going to take it as arrogant, but because I've had friends in this business kind of resent my attitude. For sure. I've had people that I love listen to me talk and go like, why is Paul like on? And I think they're mistaking it.
You think so?
Yeah, there's resentment, or there's, but what it is it's a projection because they can't be like, it's a projection because they're
I find that like hard to believe, because it's like everything that like in your career that's happened has happened like right at like the, you know. No,
but it's in, to be honest, it's in a way where it's like, I know the person loves me, and I know the people, but you could just, I remember there are comics that resented I had a family young.
Oh,
I remember. I gotta go back. I gotta go back to what I was just saying though. I was saying that
person around you said might sound arrogant, but you had to.
Oh no. So I want to tell the story. So I'm sitting down, and I'm talking to this kid after this thing, and he's kind of down. He's like, yeah, man, whatever. And I'm going, dude, I'm telling you, man, like I think something big can happen. And maybe I should. Maybe the person had a bad audition, and I was feeling good.
Sure.
But I'm just
two
like,
different worlds. You're like in two different planets. At
yeah,
that point.
and I'm like, man, dude, I think like in like by like 4 years, I could be somebody that really. And they were just like. You know, he was like, yeah, man, but then there's going to be other people in 4 years. You got, and it was just, and I remember not liking it. I remember not liking it. And I remember sitting there with this dude, if I'm being honest, and I'm going like, fuck this. And dude, years of a friendship, and it was just like, I just stopped calling. And then he called, goes, hey man, like that conversation we had was good because like we need to have the competition. He was like kind of like figuring out what was going on. And like that relationship came to an end. Now, I don't think that's a bad person. I don't think it's, you know, but it's just where I was and what I was saying and this positive shit I was saying. And then fast forward later in life, oh, Virzi's just a positive. Virzi just thinks like they could write a good show and it'll be made. And it's like, no, I don't think that. But I think that if I write a good show and we can get some meetings, we might have a chance. And that's where I'm at. But in anything in life.
Yeah, give me a chance.
In anything in life.
Yeah.
It's like when my wife, I told my fucking wife that I was going to marry her 4 years before we started dating. She was in a relationship and I was just dating around. And I said, I'm going to marry you. And she was like, no, and I go, I'm going to marry you. You know, and she, you know, and I fucking did. And it's like, so all of that, like my whole life has been that. My whole life, even when I played basketball, I'm 5'8". I was like, hit me in the corner, I'm gonna fucking hit the shot. And I eventually, I found out a way to get a shot, and I hit it. That's, you know, but when you talk like that and somebody doesn't have that, I look like I'm actually talking down at somebody that doesn't have heart.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Totally, because, yeah, well, 100% because to start, you know, you're behind your own windshield. That guy's world at that point was completely different. Right. So everything he says to you is just to get through that conversation so he can go, like, process whatever the fuck just happened. Because he was obviously, like, disappointed. 100%.
And I think if pandemic has not made you cut out, if the pandemic has not made you cut out people in your life that don't make sense, if that happening didn't make you do that, then I don't think you could be helped, and I don't think you're ever gonna know, because that's a time where it's like like for me, I was telling Tom Papa this. I used to just get up on a weeknight and leave my family to go do a $25 spot because I thought it was important, and I would run and be like, is that booker gonna be mad? Is this fucking person gonna? And now I'm sitting here and I'm going like, I got bookers like reaching out to me, go, hey man, anytime. I didn't even realize that like they see my progression, but I was in that hamster wheel where it's like, oh, I need to. And I'm like, listen, I'm never leaving my fucking kids at the dinner table. I'm never gonna go do something for some fucking nobody who never lived in my shoes because they're gonna give me $25 fucking tonight. It's like, I'm gonna do it. And obviously you had to work a certain place to get there. But like the thought of what I did, and pandemic just made me go like, no, dude. Like, we're getting old. Dude, think about that. 2 years, guys. 2 years went by. And people don't even, like, I said it to somebody, and I thought that I saw somebody, like, 2 years ago. It was 4 years. 4 years, because it's like the pandemic just stopped everything and put it on pause. Yeah. So if you're still doing, basically what it's like that Cat Williams thing where he's like, if you're hanging out with people and they're selling weed and they haven't, and then the next year they're still only selling weed, because if they didn't level up, then don't fuck with that person. Yeah. He's obviously using it as a little extreme example, but for me, I can't be around, you know, my circle of friends is very small, and it's positive people, and it's people that quite frankly want to move ahead and also enjoy life. It's not about the money, and it's not about that.
Well, like you said, it's like the attitude. Like if like every conversation you have with somebody is just like down the first time you talk, like you start talking to them, and like the first 10 minutes of every conversation is them just being like, it's just like, and like you know people like that, and you go, all right, well in 10 minutes we'll be over this, and we'll be laughing about something else.
I can't mention the name because they would be heartbroken, but one of the first times I called somebody, oh man, this is I can't say, but I'll just say this: I called somebody once who was kind of new in my life, and you know, kind of had to be. I'll leave it at that. Okay. And I go, hey, I just want to say happy birthday. Like I called and I go, hey, happy birthday. How's the birthday? Oh, not that good.
Oh, okay.
I'm having it, you know, not that. Yeah. Now it's like, listen, I don't, it's like, do you think I truly give a fuck? Like, here's the thing. It's like, I hope you're having a good day, but I called you on your birthday to say, hey, happy birthday. How's your day going? And then I felt myself sink when they said it. They go, oh, not good. And then all of a sudden it became like this thing about them. And I remember being like this, the phone call, hey, happy, and then that's who that person is. So it's like, do you know what I mean? It's because you didn't have to, because all you could have said was, oh, thank you so much, Paul.
There's some people that everything they say leaves you with it's just like, what am I supposed to say to that? They'll be like, oh, like I have this, and you're like, okay.
Yes, that's actually a great.
I don't know what to tell you,
dude. That's a great point. It's like, what are you gaining from saying that? You know, like.
Well, I mean, I can't even answer that question half the time. We're all talking bullshit. But I know what you're saying. In that case, yeah.
Because yesterday Tom Papa said something great where he goes, we were talking about like, don't talk politics and religion, and that's a rule from older generations. Yeah. And he goes, now people want to lead with it, and I'm going like, but let's say that, for example, let's say that you and Aaron right now go, hey Paul, this guy that we fucking think you'll mesh really good with on the Virzi Effect wants to come in. He's a comic from Cincinnati. I'm totally making a hypothetical. Yeah. He's a comic from Cincinnati, but we think it'll be great. He wants to do the last 15 minutes of the show. And you and Aaron swear by him, or you guys say you have to everything. And you're like, hey, should we? And he sits down and he just goes like, dude, Vladimir Putin is fucking, or like, what's going on in the Ukraine? And he just did that, right? And I'm going like, what? All right. And because it's all about, that person is all about what they're not, hey, thanks for having, what are we talking about today?
Right.
There are people that will do that.
Right.
And it's a complete, and it's like Joe said too, man. Joe Bartnick said this on the last episode. We are narcissistic, but some people are fucking ill, dude.
Yes.
Some people are, I mean, I'm sure, Aaron, how many mentally ill fucking comedians at this table have you heard where you were just like, wow, that person's fucking nuts? You don't have to, what?
Aaron said all of them.
Oh, Aaron said all. Yeah, producer Aaron said all of them. Which, I mean, look, I'm a little fucked up, but we
all are in a little way.
But everybody is.
As long as you don't make it a liability. My thing is this: I don't care who you are. Yeah. As a person, I remember the first time I got to college. I remember freshman year. I remember going like drinking in a room, and I look over and I'm like, that kid and that kid and that kid in high school never would have hung out together. But here, they're just like, hey, what's up? What's going on? And they're laughing together, and they're all getting along. And this guy who's like, you know, pretty sporty, is getting along with this guy who's a nerd. And it's just like, all right, like, that was fun for a minute. And then till by the time senior year comes around, everybody's kind of like spread out again, right? Everybody's friendly the first day. And it's like that, with everything.
No, I think that...
But I appreciate that people are different. I want to meet people who are fucked up. When I got to the Comedy Store and people had like different types of comedy, if I wasn't like a young moron going like, oh, this guy sucks, and I was wrong. Like, I was wrong. Jeff, the former piano player at the Comedy Store, rest in peace, he always says... first time he saw Sebastian, he was awful. Oh, he was terrible. He said it was the most improved he's ever seen at the Comedy Store. A guy who went up there like no shirt and like a vest on, trying to do dice, whatever, and going like this guy, and then 8 years later, he's like the biggest beast. But to appreciate the fact that they're different, that's what I was saying is like, as far as people being a liability, that's the only thing that bothers me. You can be who you are in any way, and I'm gonna like enjoy the fact that like, oh, this guy's like kind of weird, he's into this, he's into that. But once like I said, because liability is just like, now I got to deal with the way you are. As long as I don't have to deal with the way you are. Like, I don't want to walk up to you after seeing you and you treat me like shit, or you're like, you give me attitude because I haven't seen you in a week, and you're like you're in your own mood. She's like, well, don't talk to me. Don't make me like that.
Yeah, no.
Now you're a liability.
Yeah, right.
Because you get that way. Well, I don't get that way, so fuck off.
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, that's just me being me in my mood. It's like, well, that's not going to happen anymore. That's not going to, like, your mood is not going to.
I love you actually saying that to the guy. That's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
It's been happening.
Well,
this isn't happening anymore.
Hey, I know I could, like, people will stay in abusive.
Hey, if you had to whisper, if a guy was just acting up, he was being annoying or whatever, what would you, if you just had to lean in and whisper, what would you say just to like change the way he is? If you just say one sentence, just lean in and whisper, what would you say?
Probably like, my go-to is like, all right, take it easy. Take it easy is a good
No,
one.
I mean like a big, like a grander statement. Like, I would just like lean in and just be like, hey, you really got to fuck off with all this shit. All serious.
Yeah.
You got to drop all this.
Yeah. Hey, dude, you're fucking. Yeah. What the fuck are you doing? Like,
hey, this is your last night here. Nobody likes you.
Yeah, but like, I look at it with all my friends is that every single one of my friends and close friends were friends with me years ago when. I want to be friends with somebody that loved me and believed in me before my career started moving, and it's the same as my career moves. And when your career gets to a certain place and everybody's the exact same. Everybody's hanging out, talking the same shit, still busting balls the same way. Oh, well, now I got a big comedy special coming out. Same dude.
And you hear.
Same person.
People will say.
Of course. Dude,
people notice. I've heard people say about certain people we know who are very famous, like that motherfucker hasn't changed one bit.
No. Every comedian friend of mine that I'm really dear and near with, close, okay? And I have some super famous friends. Like, I have famous friends and then I have super famous friends.
Sure.
And everybody that I love, that would call me, it's exactly the same. They call me the same I call them.
Right.
Or, obviously if somebody's busy, but like, that's what I mean. So people have kept people in their circle. And these people have kept negative forces in their circle that are either holding them back, that are really abusive. You could be that's what people don't understand. The way people say abusive relationship is with friends.
Anybody, yeah.
Dude, abusive relationship could be with one of your boys that you talk to on the phone that just treats you or says a certain thing. And in your mind, you're like, well, I'm never going to leave that situation.
And you have to, part of that is your own fault at some point.
It's a huge part of your own fault.
Yeah. A friend of mine he had a good attitude towards that. He always said, he said, from the minute you meet somebody, you train them how to treat you. Like, think about that. If you just like walk up, and that's why like friendly people don't always like, because they're like, this guy's too open. And it's just like, if you, like you said, if you come in with like a good attitude and people are like, oh, who's this guy? And you're like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. But for some reason, it's just like, if you just, the guy who sits there and just a little like, oh, hey, what's up with that guy? He's a little mysterious, you know what I mean? Like, he says 3 words a day,
Or like if I walk in and I shake hands the way that I do, and I'm the type that I'll shake your hand, I'll give you a hug, and I'll smile in your face.
Sure.
I will look you in the eyes, I'll smile, and I'll hug you.
Good to see you.
And then there's some people that are just like, what's this guy fucking so friendly for? Like, what the fuck?
Now,
it's like,
I will say, I remember one time telling a kid who I love dearly.
Yeah.
I saw him 40 minutes later at like the next open mic, and he was hugging everybody, saying hello, and I just kind of walked away. I'm like, I don't need a second hug. 3rd mic of the night, swear to God, comes through, and it was like started with like 15 people, then like 10 people went to the next mic, and by the next mic there's only like 5 people, and he came through, started hugging. I'm like, dude, I just saw you. I go, I just saw you.
Well, no, some people could come in a little.
I know.
But listen, and I don't think it's just show business that have fucked up.
You don't
no,
say
of course.
It. And that's the other thing. Just say it to my face. Like I really don't mind any criticism, but when somebody says it to somebody else, then I'm like that's when I'm hurt. I'm like, well, you could have just told me. Like,
and here's the thing,
there's nothing that's going to really bother me. And I'd rather accommodate you than myself.
Right.
To an extent.
And the thing is, it's not just show business. You know, I was in an Uber.
Not at all.
I was in Uber, and somebody was just like, you know, I kind of joked like, yeah, he's like, I had comedians, and they're all this and they're all that, and I said, yeah, well, there's all of us have like a dark spot, but I'm like, you know, everybody does. You can know a banker that goes to work every day, and they have a certain thing. Yeah. I think comedians, we wear it and we show it and we bare our souls, and so maybe you can get a little more taste of who's fucked up because, like, you know, we're out there doing it.
Yes.
But you know, there's a UPS driver out there. You know, there's a UPS driver out there right now who's fucking going through some shit, and it affects them. Yeah. And it's like why do you think all these pharmaceutical companies are making all this money with fucking every drug in the world? You know, dude, now there's specific ones. Now it's like not just antidepressant. Now it's like, oh, there's antidepressant for OCD. Now there's antidepressant for social anxiety.
And they don't even really know what makes any of those work, too. That's what's funny. They even admit, they're like, we're not really sure. We could just narrow down it has these effects, but they don't really know how like a lot of that stuff works.
But the point is, there's multiple versions of it.
Take your meds.
You know, definitely take your meds, but there's multiple versions of it.
Right.
Which means that like everybody out there is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, totally.
Everybody's out there is fucked up, and if you tell me you know somebody that's not fucked up, then you know, I want to meet that person.
There's levels.
I want to meet the person that doesn't. I want to meet the person that's not a little fucked up.
Yeah.
You know, because it's and then that person's a psychopath.
Yeah.
Or a sociopath that like hides shit.
Yeah, my buddy Mike used to say in high school, he goes, everybody's fucked up, you just don't know it. You don't know how they're fucked up. And it's, like I said, varying degrees. Yeah. And he used to say this, he had another good theory, was that everybody's got the same amount of points. Like, it's like Madden. Like, if you're making a player and you like drag that bar up and you give him legs, like his hands are going to suffer a little bit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody's got 100 points.
Suffers, yeah.
And then if you see somebody who's like, wow, like this guy's good looking, he's good at sports, and you know, he's a great drummer. And then it's just like, well, somewhere else there's a deficit.
No, it's
you got to
true,
tell yourself that to make it feel better.
Well, no, but there is truth to that though. If somebody's really strong, like socially,
well, that doesn't mean Tom Brady has like kittens, like in a heads in a jar.
No. But Tom Brady
doesn't.
But let's talk about that. Does Tom Brady have problems? Yeah. I bet Tom Brady has Tom Brady has a fucking $120 million home. He's married to a Brazilian supermodel. He's got 3 beautiful kids. He's got, 7 rings. He's been to the Super Bowl this time. He's coming back. Tom Brady has come home, thrown his bag against the wall, and been like, Giselle, what the fuck? Right. How many times? I told you I'm not doing that commercial. Tell my assistant. And like, those are his problems.
Sure.
Like, I'm sitting in the pool today, like, or whatever. I mean, he probably wouldn't sit in the pool.
Yeah, he's never said that in his life.
No, he's probably making some green smoothie or some shit.
Yeah.
But like everybody has, people are always, have this thing of like, imagine being them. And it's like, yeah, well, you know what? However your problem is, at their level, they have those problems.
Everybody has the same problem, dude. The only true happiness in this world, like you said, those securities, is like a couple days out. Obviously you'd like to have rent for the next few months, but you know what I'm saying, like within reason. But it's like this meal, this night's sleep. Like that's it. If you can sleep well and eat a meal and then not feel nervous about eating that meal, everything in your life is probably going pretty well. People who have been through divorces, even high schoolers who have been through breakups, probably understand that like empty depression where you're just like completely out of it. Like,
But it's
on a normal, when people say like, it was today, I was like, it was just another day. I'm like, I love a normal day. I tell my girlfriend all the time, I'm like, I love just a regular
But that's
Tuesday.
Because, Andrew, that's because you
because I'm Greek Italian, Paul?
Well, that's part of it. That's part of it. But you also are grateful for things, and you understand
Very
things.
appreciative.
I have had people that I've known, get murdered. I have had people that I've known that I went to college with, that I partied with, die of cancer, and I saw that person laying there dead in their 20s. I've seen that, and I've known great families who had to suffer from people being be killed and dying and all kinds of awful things and overdosing. You know, I lost my brother-in-law. He was 30 years old. It's one of the hardest things my wife ever had to. It's and we're sitting there.
Get over that.
So it's like, no, and those are things that stick with you. So it's like, what am I worried? It's like, what are you fucking worried about? It's like, stop being a fucking, and I think part of it is like, everything is like, you know, we're kind of spoiled. We're spoiled, man.
Dude, we are like,
I have a computer right here. Yeah. Everything. I want to find out the scores of Sweet 16 right here. I want to read the news right here. I could fucking play a video game right here.
Dude, we live like kings. Like, think about this. 100 years ago, a king didn't live this good. And even, I'm not telling people like, oh, suck up your problems. Like, even with those things, like the advantages that we have in 2022. I mean, listen, who knows?
There's probably it's so funny that we're saying this. Meanwhile, there's somebody sucking dick for crack right now, crying.
No, they are
sucking
dick for crack right now, and they're crying doing it. They are. There is somebody. But what they got to realize, is that if they
That's
eat...
the most positive way I've ever heard somebody. There is somebody sucking dick for crack right now. They're out there.
But
They're
as long
fun.
as they got a good meal and a good night's sleep.
I know, but dude, if you're sucking dick for crack, I don't think your meal that night's gonna matter.
Well, your sleep's excellent, I'll tell you that.
Well, if you're the sucky, or I don't know.
Right.
Like, I don't know how
they both slept well, Paul.
Yeah, and again, man, I'm not trying to make this episode be this like drag yourself
I had a friend who couldn't hang out with me. Sorry,
you know what I mean? No. I don't want to make this episode be like drag yourself up off the mat and do it. I'm just saying, like, my whole thing was like, pandemic seems to, knock on wood, it seems like life is pretty much getting back to normal. I know that there are still mask stuff and stuff like that, and I know that they're saying there's some other variant, but for the most part, it feels like in cities, and you can really tell, in cities like LA and New York, things have lightened up. So my thing is, what did you learn from the 2 years we were on pause? And that's really what it comes down to, is what did you take from it? What did you do? I feel bad for somebody where nothing changed.
But that's got to be every 3, 4, 5 years of your life. Like, there's a natural progression to like 4 years and 4 to 5 years. Every 4 to 5 years, I think it's like high school's 4 years, right? 5th grade to 8th grade is like 4 years, right? 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Then you get high school and then college. Right. Like, there's something about a 4-year cycle.
No, there's a change.
President. Right? 4 years. So even if you're in the middle, if you're floating in the middle of the ocean and there's no structure, right? Because of what you're saying, like, if you didn't figure it out, there's no structure after high school, college to say, this is time for you to, like, adjust things. But you have to, like, take stock. Yeah. Like, you have to take stock and be like, am I doing the same thing? And by the way, there also is that thing, like, if you have been complaining about, like, yourself or the way you do it, just admit maybe you just don't want to do that. Maybe you don't want to be. Oh no,
that's now you're talking. Now you're talking about somebody that uses. Quit. Well, now you're talking about somebody that uses excuses. But like, I'm not. And I know what you're saying. Every 4 years, something big happens. You graduate, you move on. But the world was on pause. You were told. Think about this.
You're told.
The world was told to stay in your home. You might die. When I had COVID, I called my doctor, and my doctor was too busy at the hospital studying this thing because it was so new. Sure. So his assistant said, here's the deal. If you, God forbid, go on a ventilator, you pretty much have a 50% chance to live. Think about that. So people are home, petrified. People were washing fruit. They were washing fucking bottles. They got people getting shampoo, washing it. I went into my supermarket. I'm talking early pandemic. Everybody kind of forgets a little bit.
We wipe shit down.
Dude, March, people were like, the delivery person's leaving it at the door. You were finding out that, especially in New York City, Queens, trucks were getting stacked with fucking bodies. It was horrible. And all of these terrible things are happening. And you're going, you should not leave your home. And 5 months went by. And you're home with your family and you're doing things. And some people, really changed their life. Some people fucking invested in things. Some people were like, look, my wife had a job where she drove to for, a decent commute. She had a, great job and she loved her bosses and everything. And now she works from home, will never pretty much go to the office again unless she wants to. Yep. Okay. Her quality of life has gone up. Crazy. Quality of life companies have learned how to survive and save money on things. So like the greater good of the pandemic, and I said this to we were talking to Uber driver, which I normally don't do. I'm doing a thing in my act where I don't talk to him anymore. I like to close my eyes and relax. But this guy was just really, really nice, and he was from Ethiopia, and he was just telling me about, you know, the flight out there and flying to Dubai, and we were just having this like nice conversation. And I kind of talking about how like pandemic was almost, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody that lost somebody, but it was almost like a blessing, a good thing for certain people.
It was a blessing, but like what came out of it? Yeah, the byproduct. It's like the byproduct, right? Like the byproduct, like that phone you held up is the byproduct of a bunch of kids in like a factory. But that's still an amazing byproduct. The byproduct of COVID was terrible, but the byproduct was that some people did well. A lot of people lost businesses, which is, I think, is like the craziest, like not talked about thing ever. But you know, just the amount of people who had, because it used to be a thing. I don't know if you remember, like so many comics had jokes about like all the coffee houses that were opening up. Like that in LA, that was a thing. Like every open mic, somebody would make fun of the fact all these coffee houses opened up. And I kind of think about it like, these were just independent places that people ran their own businesses. They like baked their shit. They had their coffees imported, whatever. Like they really got got into it. Yeah. You know, it was nice to have all those.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens as life goes on. And but the point of the story is, don't be a dick. All right, don't be scared. Don't let bad people or negative people around you dictate what you do, because that is the worst thing you could do, and you have to be smart enough to understand who you're dealing with. And the last thing I'll say is, when somebody says something to you and keeps harping, because people kept harping on me having a family when I was doing comedy, when I was coming up, they would go, how are the kids? How are the kids? Oh, how's your family? Now, these are people that I weren't friends with, and I knew that they resented it. I knew that they resented me. There was a couple comics, and I'm not going to use names, but I would go into a club. Hey, Paul, how you doing, man? How's the kids? How's the family? And it was because it was a projection. And I realized that even though they were trying to be nice, I saw it in their face. I had one person say to me, what do you got, like six? I said this on Jim and Sam. I was like, what do you got, like 6 kids now? And I was like, no, still 2. Still always 2. Always 2. You have none. I have 2, and they're great. That's why.
Do you think any of them said, like, hey, like, how's the kids? Like, thinking, like, damn, you're working with a lot there, like to be pursuing stand-up and to have a kid. Do you think any of them meant it like that, but kind of came off like because they had just come out of a conversation where they were a little bubbly, and then it kind of sounded like that? I'm sure
some of them meant it good-spirited, and I'm sure some of them meant it in a way where they were like, "How are your kids?" But I could tell what people were doing, and I could tell people were like, "Oh yeah, Virzi's with his kids." You know, people would resent that I would talk about it on stage, but it's like, hey, that's what I'm going to talk about because I just had a daughter, so I'm going to fucking talk about that. So anyway, I did not mean to go off on this shit. I hope people enjoyed this. You got me going, and you got me thinking about people that are kind of shitty, and I just feel like if you let 2 years of your life go by with the pandemic and you're still dealing with negativity or bad people, you're fucking up. And you need to look around you, and you need to look in the mirror and be like, I don't need to be with that. Like, I don't need that. There is somebody's listening to this podcast right now, and they have the person in their mind that they go, this person shouldn't be in my life right now. And seriously, cut the cord. Cut the fucking cord.
Yeah, and if they're not somebody you're in a relationship with, you probably don't think about it as much because it's not like something you're like, yeah, well, they're just a casual friend, but like,
right,
no,
like so the abuse
is slow drip,
right?
Slow drip.
So the abuse is like secondary, and the shittiness is secondary because it's not an everyday thing. That's a good point. It's not an everyday thing. So that slow drip of negativity, just pull that fucking drip out and be like, you know what? I'm fucking done with it. But speaking of done with it, we have to wrap this up. But we got some shit to do here. This has been episode 532. Sitting in with my producer, Andrew Themeles. I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm going to be doing Virzi Effects with guests in a studio in New York, and then back alone doing it from my home studio. Tell a friend, subscribe. We're going to keep putting clips out. Well, Andrew's going to do that. Andrew's going to keep putting clips out, and, get all of my dates, guys. I'm going to be in, I don't know when this will come out, so it's probably, actually, if it will come out. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, March 31st to April 2nd, I'll be in Providence, Rhode Island. I got Tampa coming up. I have San Diego coming up in June. May 26th, I'll be at Buffalo and Helium. You go to paulvirzi.com for all of those dates. Please subscribe and like and all that stuff with my YouTube channel, which you can go to, which has clips, stand-up, more of that's being added. Subscribe to the Anything Better podcast with me and Bill Burr. And yeah, all that. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next week. Andrew, thanks for jumping on, man.
Thank you.
All right.